What's up, my people? It's your boy PP24 back with another video. Guys, if you can hear the fan, it's the hottest day of the UK apparently today. It's Bank Holiday Monday, and this fan is the only thing that's keeping me alive right now. I promise you that. But today's video is on Axel Rudakabana and how he is having a terrible time in jail, and also how his parents have basically got the blame of him going out that night and committing taking the lives of those poor little girls, yeah? Because apparently the parents had many chances to stop it or report him to the police. However, they did not, thinking that he might fix himself one day. I don't know what they were thinking, but if that was my son, brother, you would have gone straight to the police or something, and some kind of mental asylum or something, bro. Because he was not right. They caught him with knives, about to jump in a taxi and all sorts, bro. Like, what was they thinking, fam? And they even found him for rice, poisoning in his room and stuff. Like, bro, he was not right in the head. But guys, the Telegraph has come out with an actual video on him. Southport inquiry blames killer Axel Rudakabana's parents. So they are blaming the courts and that. They are actually putting the blame on the parents, and I think the parents are even probably gonna face some kind of jail time. I'm not too sure about that one, because they are not directly involved, but because they didn't report the issue, they are kind of involved, because that would have basically stopped the whole thing. You get me? So guys, we're gonna get right into this video. Before we get into this, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Get me to 20 likes on this video. 20 likes, that's all I'm asking, guys. You guys give me a few hundred viewers every other video. So if you can't give me 20 likes, why are you even watching the video? It's free. Like it, subscribe, hype up the video, and share it with your friends. You get me? And guys, we're gonna get straight into this video. This is them talking about Axel Rudakabana's parents and how they had the blame, and how his jail life is going. You know what I mean? So let's get right into this. Let me just go put a playback 130. Let's go.
The first official report into the inquiry into the Southport killings has been released, and it makes for harrowing reading.
It found that the attack that killed 3 helpless young girls in 2024 could have been prevented, with Axel Rudakabana's parents criticised for failing to do more to stop him. They raised a monster, and they must take responsibility for that. They can't get out of that responsibility. That there were, on the other hand, lots of other signs that were picked up by the authorities, and the authorities are
and 6-year-old BB King. They were attending a Taylor Swift themed dance workshop on July the 29th, 2024. The attacker was 17. He seriously wounded 8 other children and 2 adults, and then he was sentenced to a minimum of 52 years in prison. So we have this inquiry to try and unpack the failings of the PREVENT programme, which is meant to have stopped attacks like these, but also to delve into the background of how it came to pass that a teenager would carry out such a brutal murder of such very young, vulnerable girls. Now, one of the key findings in all this is that the inquiry has held that his parents should have morally done more to stop their son. So we heard during the court case and beyond that Rudakabana had had knives delivered to the house by Amazon, that his father and mother had repeatedly reported him to the authorities. He was expelled from one school after making a call to the Samaritans saying he wanted to take a knife in to attack somebody who was bullying him. He then is put in another school. He has to leave there. He effectively ends up in a borstal. His behaviour is becoming increasingly erratic. Now, at the time all of this was being reported, I did think to myself as a parent, often you look at it from the perspective of the parents of the girls, and you think, there for the grace of God go I. Anyone could have a child in a dance class in a summer holiday, and this happens. It's just the most unthinkable thing. I've never thought, there for the grace of God go I, when it comes to being the Rudakabanas, because I just wouldn't have got into a situation where one of my children is taking delivery of knives from Amazon on my watch. But then maybe I'm putting myself on some kind of parental pedestal and not understanding the challenges faced by these parents in the face of increasingly erratic behaviour by their son.
I got one challenge for you. Try whisper for once.
Shut up.
Therefore, nothing actually happened, and Prevent kept on looking at it and then forgetting about it. So the official failings are easy to identify and say, this is what should have happened instead. And there were processes that just failed, and there seemed to be carelessness in the approach. With the parents, it's difficult because you and I are fortunate in having children who don't seem to be likely to behave in this way. They had a child who was extraordinarily difficult, who was known to the police, who was regularly being faced with the police, with authorities, who were doing nothing. So you have an incident where the police are called to the family home because Rudakabana has flooded the bath and won't turn the taps off, has locked himself in a room, the parents can't get into him. If we had a child like that, what can you do beyond calling the police?
Well, no, look, I think very, very respectable families end up having problem children, some of whom go on to commit criminal acts. I mean, in this case, it is so extreme because what he has done is really on a par with sort of James Bulger's murder. It is a child killing children. And the violence of the attack, which we don't need to go over now, but, colleagues in the newsroom who had to cover this and cover the detail of it. This was maniacal and heinous and horrendous and disgusting and appalling. And it rings alarm bells in my head because a parent knows their child better than anyone. And let's look at some of the evidence here of what little the parents actually did. I mean, first of all, they're constantly defending this child in the face of the absolute indefensible. The parents were found to have allowed their son to, quote, exert control over them rather than setting boundaries, partly out of fear he would be taken into care or custody. Well, I'm sorry, rather he be taken into care or custody than go out and commit these murders. Their actions meant key information was actively concealed from professionals, limiting agencies' ability to assess the risk properly. The inquiry says the parents' motivation was to avoid intervention by the authorities, even though this ultimately contributed to a far worse outcome. I mean, the authorities certainly failed everyone involved, but the parents basically were trying to protect their son. They left an entire troop of young girls at serious risk of harm, and 3 of them died. In a damning conclusion, Sir Adrian Fulford, who is the chair of the inquiry, said, if Rudakabana's parents had done what they had morally ought to have done, he would not have been at liberty to conduct the attack, and it would not therefore have occurred. This terrible event could have been and should have been prevented.
But no parent is going to think that his child is capable of that.
But I think deep down, if the father knew he was taking delivery of knives from Amazon.
But just look at the authorities. Critical information sharing failures meant key warnings were lost or not acted on across agencies. A misunderstanding of autism led to his behaviour being wrongly attributed to autism spectrum disorder, contributing to inaction. His violent online activity was never examined. They do then blame Alphonse Rudakabana, but authorities tend to do that. When they've bungled, they're always looking for somebody else to blame. The parents were found to have allowed their son to exert control over them. Now, I think that's quite an important point, that parents aren't always as in control of their children as they might think they would like to be. Children can very often be in control of parents, particularly if you've got a physically big child who you can't any longer pick up and carry to his room.
Physically restraining him, Mr. and Mrs. Rudakabana would have struggled with that.
Would have struggled to do.
But I'm saying, I agree with everything you're saying to a certain extent. This is like the argument about parents who can't get their children into school, and people say, oh, well, why don't you just wrestle them into the car? It's like, no, of course you can't do that. But this was about them actually actively turning a blind eye because they didn't want the authorities to be involved.
But the authorities were involved. I don't think that excuse washes, because the authorities were involved at every step of the way. He took knives into a school, and the school was aware of this, and nothing happens. Now,
let's imagine this scenario. Imagine a scenario where one of your 6 children is found, God forbid, taking knives into school. You and Helena are then called in. Let's theorise what we would do. What would you actually do? Hard, I know. But
you would effectively police your child as if you were running a prison, wouldn't you?
You'd have them on some kind of house arrest. And you would be monitoring and curfewing them. You would not be letting them alone on a computer.
And you would monitor everything that came into the house, and you'd be switching off the internet, and you'd be doing all sorts of things.
Well, they didn't do any of that. They didn't police parcels. They didn't police his social media use. Meanwhile, this kid is downloading Al-Qaeda manuals, looking up sick videos of, mass murders. I'm sorry, but again, if my son was doing that, I really think I would know about it, but maybe I'm being naive.
I think you are being naive. It amuses me as a parent, as my children get older, how they tell me of things that they did when they were younger,
Yes.
that I had no idea was going on, or things that happened to them that I
But
had
hang
no
on a
idea was
minute.
going on.
One of the
So
boys was searching for really sick material online, and you're saying you and your wife wouldn't have a handle on that.
I control their hours, and I can control the ratings on things, but if they'd worked out how to get around any controls I'd put on, or they were using somebody else's computer...
Okay, well, let's put it this way. Would you have a situation in the Rees-Mogg household, because we wouldn't in the Tomley household, where you've got children disappeared from view for hours and hours on end on computers into the small hours of the morning?
No,
You'd just take
'cause
away the computer.
Their machines all switch off overnight, and I have control of that.
But this, again, the Rudakabanas didn't do this.
No, look, I'm not saying the Rudakabanas are free from blame at all. Don't want to make that argument. I think they have a deep responsibility for their child. That's an interesting point, which we might come back to. But I think the authorities saw all the signs. And it's the authorities who should come in and say, look, we're arresting you. We're taking you away from your home because you've been into school with a knife. I would not expect, if any of my children took a knife into school, I would not expect them to be home at the weekend in the normal way. I would expect the authorities to be saying, this child needs to be put into emergency care. That clearly the parents are incapable of looking after this child.
Yes.
And incapable because he may have been beyond their abilities.
Yes.
And may have been beyond any of our abilities.
Yes.
That Rudakabana is an evil man.
Yes.
And if you've got an evil child, what do you do? And the authorities didn't act. The other question is child, the word child. I think we're very confused as a society over when you are a child and when you cease to be a child. 17 is in some ways very grown up,
Yes.
and in other ways is still technically a child.
Yes. Well, don't forget at the time there was a concern that he couldn't be named because he was minor.
Absolutely.
In criminal. So you can be criminally liable at 10.
10.
But there is a big difference between 10 and 17, of course.
I was saying to Alfred, who was 10 in February, that his last 24 hours to commit a crime and get away with it.
This is an almost adult
That's right.
carrying out crimes against 6, 7 and 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds.
And I think at 17 you ought to be fully criminally liable. I don't, particularly if Labour's talking about giving the vote at 16.
Yeah.
You can't have the vote at 16 and not be fully criminally liable.
Yes.
I also want to raise the question of drugs, because were there drugs in the Rudakabana household? There's so much evidence on cannabis creating mental breakdown that leads to violent disorder, and Pete Hitchens has been brilliant on exposing this over years and years and years.
Yes.
Has he been tested for drugs? Do we know if there was any drug involvement? Was there any drug involvement in the family? Was that part of family life?
Put something
So Adrian
relatable.
Fulford, who is the chair of the inquiry, said, if Rudakabana's parents had done what they had morally ought to have done, he would not have been at liberty to conduct the attack, and it would not therefore have occurred. This terrible event could have been and should have been prevented. Actually, we don't know if there's that much evidence of drugs, but I think it's a really, really good question. And the issue of cannabis psychosis in the under 18s. It's one thing to be a cannabis user when you're in your 20s. When your brain isn't properly formed, awful things can happen.
Well, it's fundamental, and it seems as if the Nottingham murderer
Yes, Valdo Callicane.
was a cannabis user. And I think this is a societal failing, that we're not willing to face up to the evidence or look for the evidence. So why don't we know? Well, we don't know because he almost certainly wasn't tested when he was arrested. Those are the sort of things we need to know. And again, to your point on do you blame the family? Well, I certainly do if drugs were going on in the
Yes.
family, because, but I don't want to accuse them of something
you say
there's
that,
no
Jacob.
evidence for.
I mean, if they allowed him to do drugs in the house, is that any worse than then allowing him to download an Al-Qaeda training manual? I mean, that's in a way that's a drug in itself, isn't it? He's being radicalised willfully online.
Actually, I think it probably is, because you and I could look at an Al-Qaeda training manual because we wanted to talk about it in public and thought we ought to know what was in it. There could be a legitimate purpose for it, whereas there can't be for taking cannabis.
Let's also reflect on what the families of the victims have previously said. They've called for Rudakabana's parents to be, quote, held to account for their son's crimes. Jenny Stankham said in a joint statement with Elsie Dott's father, David, they didn't report their concerns, they didn't act, and in doing so, they failed not only as parents, but as members of our society. And funny enough, Merseyside Police did previously consider charges against his parents, but in June last year, a spokesman said the evidence against them did not reach the threshold. They also spoke to the inquiry. They spoke to the inquiry in November, and they prompted the force to confirm its detectives would examine their transcripts. This was the other very disappointing thing. Alphonse gave a pretty mealy-mouthed response, I think, in the face of the scale of the crimes, the horrific nature of the crimes. There was this kind of sense that they didn't quite understand. I mean, to be fair, they've now been forced into hiding. He's got a brother who's been forced into hiding. There's no winners here at all, is there? I mean,
No, of course there isn't. And obviously they have failed as parents.
Yes.
I mean, just utterly. What is success and failure as a parent? But they brought into this world a creature who is evil.
yeah, they raised a monster.
They raised a monster, and they must take responsibility for that. They can't get out of that responsibility. That there were, on the other hand, lots of other signs that were picked up by the authorities. And the authorities are impartial, are not emotionally involved, and should be applying the law without that. You hope your child will be better next time.
They should be overruling the parental emotion in all this.
Of
The parents
course they
saying,
should.
we don't want him to go into care, and being objective in saying, this kid is clearly very, very unstable.
You put the point I was trying to make much better than I put it, actually. And that is to say that parents are always subjective about their children and protective of them, and we think that they are marvellous. In this case, the absolute opposite was true. And the parents were at fault in not acting, and clearly in the way they brought him up. But the greater fault is with the objective authorities, who had power, who had steps they could take, and who the whole way through seemed to be muddled, and who ignored incredibly strong warning signs. For heaven's sake, taking knives into school, planning to kill somebody who bullied you, doesn't that set off every alarm? And where are we with the Mental Health Acts? That if you're going into school at his age, or at any age, intending to kill people, shouldn't you be sectioned?
Yes.
And put in a safe home?
Yes.
We seem to have given up on that completely. We allow people, whether they're mad because of cannabis or whether they're mad and dangerous anyway, doesn't really matter. We need to have a system where dangerous people are sectioned and protected from themselves and more importantly, protecting others. Because this, I mean, you're so right to concentrate on the poor families who have suffered and will never ever get over this loss. We'll think every year, what would my child have been doing now?
Yes.
If you're enjoying our journalism, why not sign up to From the Editor, our free email newsletter? Start your day with the latest news and opinion.
So as you can see, they had a debate. The other guy was acting like a devil's advocate, and he was basically trying to say, it's not that you can't blame the whole thing on the parents, because of a kid's actions. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the other woman saying, "Yo, if it was your kid, what would you actually do?" And she was saying, like, obviously you would make sure they're sanctioned. You'll monitor them 24/7, curfew, whatnot, everything, bro, to make sure that this does not happen again, bro. You get me? And yeah, man, it does kind of make sense that obviously to a certain extent it is there for parents' fault, because look, the CCTV came out that the dad pulled him out of a taxi when he was trying to go to somewhere, his school. And he was trying to go to one of his schools and go kill the kids there. He didn't report it then. And then a few days later, he committed the murders. You know what I mean? But if he reported it at that time, maybe it wouldn't have happened. I wanted to see Axel Rudakabana jail life. If there's any updates. Okay, look, he will kill in prison. I think we watched that. Actually, let's just watch it.
Feels so right, I know. Oh yeah.
These adverts, bro. So yeah, man, as you can see, Axel Rudakabana, this is him. This is his life in jail. And this is an ex-prison guard actually talking about it and saying that he does believe that he will commit another murder in jail.
Out on people. I'm trying to imagine if he had been in the general prison population, what's the kind of thing that could have happened to him?
Okay, so there's all manner of weapons in prison. If you look at, El Salvador, strange ways, anywhere they have the same weapons, fabricated from razor blades, shanks made of anything, plastic, bitter metal. They're all dangerous, stabby, pointy weapons. For me, the thing I was always scared of, hot water and sugar, liquid napalm, they call it, in your face.
So that fella, Axel Rudakabana.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Southport killer. He just, people were going, why has he got a kettle?
Right. I will tell you now. So if he's segregated or on the prison healthcare, you have observation panels. There's a lot of naive, young, maybe old as well, inexperienced staff. For me, knowing him, every time I go to his cell, if I'm going to drop that hatch and look in, there's a flap you can move, glass, I'm having a look. He's got a cup in his hand, put a cup down. Back of the cell or something like that before I drop it.
Because that'll disfigure you, won't it?
Yeah, especially, it's horrendous. The thought of that is horrendous. He's got a kettle because, again, you have to understand this, there'll be people within the system, there always is, who human rights. Everyone else has got a kettle, he's entitled to a kettle. You're entitled to hot water as a prisoner with your meal. I'm not quite sure of the PSOs, prison service orders, prison service instructions, but with your meal, you're entitled to a hot drink twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. Kettles are easier if wings are locked down. We used to have boilers on the landings at Strangeways. If people are locked down 23 hours a day, yeah, it's difficult then to get hot water to them. So if you've got a kettle in a cell, again, more than 99% of prisoners, it's not a problem. You know, they're not going to risk assaulting an officer like that for no good reason unless they're in debt. There's a lot of people who get in debt who will commit assaults. You owe me £300, yeah? I don't like that, officer. I'm going to harm one of your family members on the out, or you are going to dash that officer with liquid napalm.
Oh, man.
What are you going to do? So that is a danger now as well.
Shit. Yeah. So then you never know who to expect it from.
No. But if we look at him, I don't even want to say his name, the guy from Southport, horrendous. He's already twice assaulted people. He's doing 50 odd years. He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know, he's not in 2 years' time suddenly going to think, I'm a reformed lad now. He's got nothing to lose, that lad. He's always going to be a risk. So I'm building a supermax. It's going to be a very limited regime, and I'm going to pluck everyone in the prison system who is a risk to staff. That's people with extreme views, people of terror, maybe people whole of life. Damien Bendel, do you know who he is? So he was at Franklin. He committed, again, an horrendous crime. He killed his so-called partner who was pregnant, her 2 children, and a young child who was stopping with the family kids. He's a monster. He got whole of life. He's never getting out. Franklin, 18 months. He's in a workshop with a hammer. He's assaulted someone. So they've set a trial date for that lad. That lad is in my supermax now. He's on 23-hour bang up and he's getting nothing else. Forget his human rights. Forget everything else. It's about keeping people safe.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah.
And there's people all over the system. Prison officers in each prison will know. It might not be a massive amount of people, but they're warehoused. They're going to my supermax. There's no mobile phones. We've got blockers. So they're not using mobile phones. I'll have 2 regimes, small units. If you come into prison, initially, I'm going to put you on a reception unit, see how you behave. If you want to hurt my staff, you're on 23-hour bang up forever. I don't care. If you behave, I'm going to put you on a unit where you've got a little gym, maybe a little kitchen. However, me and my staff are not on that unit. We're not at risk. We're not going to get dashed with hot water. We're not going to get stabbed. If it kicks off on that unit, so that's prisoner on prisoner, we're not coming in till there's enough of us, or you've all gone behind your doors, electronically locked. They need something like that. It needs to be secure, communication-wise and everything else. You have a right to religion. So guess what? If you're on a unit and you're all Muslims, there's a screen, imam, somewhere else, there you go, you can have Friday prayers.
Yeah.
So you give them all the rights. However, staff, civilian staff, everyone is protected. They're removed off them landings.
But there were failures, weren't there, with that Southport killer?
Absolutely. But again, everywhere's short-staffed. I tell you what, as a prison officer, and every prison officer has always done this, you make it work. You're short-staffed, you make it work.
91% watching Heretics.
So yeah, as you can see, guys, Rudakabana is considered a very dangerous prison officer. He's already attacked once or twice. He's threw kettle. I know he's caught through boiling water to officer's face, and he's also, and someone else has actually shot in a bag and dashed it at him. I'm pretty sure this is what I heard, isn't it? Some mad thing like that. There's bare people that are trying to get at him, but because he's young and because they know that the officers, the prison guards, their sole job is basically not to let people to get at him. So he's got basically someone watching him 24/7 or something like that. And yeah, man, but it's not gonna, for 50 years. He's not gonna be protected for 50 years. Don't watch that, man. Right now he's young. They have to. He's got a big name, like a big presence around him. Like people know his name. People know his face. They know people want to get at him. So police and the prison guards, the governor, they have to do their job as prison guards. Even if they don't like him, they have to look after him. You know what I mean? This is basic human rights in prison. So, guys, that was Axel Rudakabana and his jail life. And also, if his parents are the ones to blame about what happened, in my opinion, like I said, it's 50-50 because they didn't do anything wrong. Like personally, they did not push him to attack. They obviously wanted him to be good, stay on the straight and narrow, but it didn't happen. As parents, they did let that kind of part down, and they didn't report him to the police on time when that would have resolved everything. So in my opinion, actually, it was their fault, but I don't think they deserve prison time. They deserve some kind of maybe sanction. I don't know what they deserve, but prison time, I don't know. That's a bit too far, man. You know what I mean? That's their son that did that. They did not even like want him to do it. It's not like they were bad parents and they said, yeah, we want you to do that. No, they didn't. Obviously not. They stopped him going for there once, and he kept going, bro. They obviously didn't know the extent that he would have gone at. No one would have knew. Only he knew in his own brain what he wanted to do. You get me? So, guys, please leave your comments below what you think of the situation. Also, get me them 20 likes. If you don't get me them 20 likes, stop watching my videos. And what else? And just comment, bro. Comment your thoughts on this beast, this monster, the Southport killer who killed 3 innocent girls. What do you think he deserves? Do you think 52 years is right? Do you think he never should get out of prison alive? You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Guys, it's been your boy PP24. I hope you did enjoy today's video. Like I said, give me them 20 likes. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.